Hello and welcome to another episode of ShowHammer Doctor Who Reviews. This week we're taking a look at the second story in William Hartnell's first series as the Doctor. It's a story that made the show a hit, so let's get straight into it. The Daleks is a storyline that cemented Doctor Who as a permanent fixture in the British psyche. Having escaped from the tribe of Gum in the final episode of the previous story, the TARDIS had to take off in a hurry to avoid being damaged by the cavemen, and that means that the Doctor didn't have time to set all of the coordinates properly. Now, the time travellers don't know where or when they are, and what's more, they're getting sick from radiation poisoning because the TARDIS didn't detect it in time. It turns out that they're on Skaro, the Dalek homeworld, 500 years after a devastating nuclear war. The Daleks are stuck in a metal city that they can't leave, while their mortal enemies, the Thals, have given up on their warlike ways to try and eke out an existence as farmers wherever they can manage to grow a few meagre crops. Neither side is doing well, but the Daleks have a plan. The Doctor comes across as an absolute arse, for want of a better word, in the first few episodes of this story. First of all, he willingly sabotages the TARDIS so that it can't take off. Why? Because he wants to investigate the Dalek city, but no one else wants to go there, so he breaks the ship to get his own way. This becomes a really big problem later on, because when they all get captured by the Daleks, he reveals what he'd done, and Ian takes the sabotaged TARDIS part off him for safekeeping. Then the Daleks take it off Ian. This wouldn't be as big a problem as it turns out to be if Ian hadn't forgotten that the Daleks had taken the thing off him, only remembering when the time travellers got back to the TARDIS. Yeah, now they've got to go back into the city and get the part back. Because, well, there's nothing like a game of Pass the Idiot Ball to keep the story going, is there? You can really split the Dalek story into two stories. The first is about 3 episodes long, and it's all about the main cast encountering a group of weird space tanks that are incredibly paranoid, and the cast's attempts to flee back to the safety of the TARDIS. The second story is about paranoid space tanks and their plan to free themselves from their prison city by destroying the atmosphere of their own planet, bathing it in radiation that they need to live, but which will kill everything else. In the second story, we have a 4-parter, but if we're honest, there's enough plot to fill maybe 2 episodes at a fast pace, or 2.5 at a slower pace. Episodes 6 and 7 of the Daleks are meandering and dull to watch. The final episode resolves the storyline by the 10-minute mark, but has to stretch it itself out for a full 25 minutes, because 10 minutes, it just isn't enough. So it's tiresome, especially since episodes 1 to 4 are excellent and couldn't be more enjoyable. Most of the acting by the supporting cast, that's great, although some of the Thals feel, well, very, very wooden, let's put it that way. This contrasts very obviously with the excellent performances in the previous story, which were just great, and also contrasts heavily with the performances from the Daleks themselves, who steal the show. They are great. Even the ones that are very, very obviously cardboard cutouts stood at the back of the set. I'm not joking, there are cardboard cutouts at the back of the set. Watch it, you'll see, you'll laugh, I laughed, you'll laugh. Speaking of the Daleks themselves, their iconic look is here right from the very start. Unlike many of the Doctor's other foes, their design hardly changes over the decades. They are still the evil pepper pots of doom in the modern series, just as they were in this outing from the early 60s. Their look is iconic, and while it can be tweaked a little to suit the sensibilities of the era, it should never be changed outright. But that almost wasn't the case. These photographs from Doctor Who magazine and these other photographs courtesy of friend of the show Patrick Furlong are design sketches for alternative looks to the Daleks. The actual appearance of the aliens wasn't set in stone from the beginning. They could have ended up looking very different indeed. Would they have become such an immediate hit with all of the audience if they'd looked like any of these? No, I really don't think they would. There's a lot to the appearance of the Daleks. First and foremost, they don't look like a man in a suit. They're shorter and more squat than the average adult human. They aren't clunky robots or guys in weird masks. They have no defining facial features, and even the section that appears to be their heads has almost no likeness to a human face. They look strange, they look alien, and that's why they work so well. With any of these other designs, some or even all of the mystique of the Daleks would have been lost, and the show would have been much the worse for it, so it's a good thing that the production team went with the design that they did. As an introductory story to the Doctor's main foes, the Daleks is brilliant. It sets up who they are rather well, and although the characterization would change drastically over the years, at no point during the story does a blinded Dalek simply start shooting everything, for example, they are still a definite threat to the cast, and their weird alien appearance is still fantastic. This is a story that's well worth coming back to from time to time. Just be prepared to try and fight off boredom during those final 2 episodes, which unfortunately is a problem we'll see time and time again with Dalek stories. So, weighing up all sides of the story, I think it's definitely worth 3 out of 5 TARDISes. And that is all we've got time for this week. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed this foray into the second story of Doctor Who from the original series. And if you have, remember to click that like button. Share this with your friends so they'll know some good Doctor Who stories when they see them. And do subscribe for future videos, because as we continue with this new series, we will be charting every single story from Doctor Who's history, all the way from the start right through to the modern day. So you know that there'll be future videos. But anyway, until next time, I've been Zoe Kirk-Robinson, you've been watching ShowHammer Doctor Who reviews, and I'll see you next time. If you liked today's video, please consider supporting me on Patreon. And an extra special thanks goes out to Chief89 and Tepic. Thank you.